Hey everybody, this is a members preview for today's members episode. If you want to hear the whole thing and you're listening on YouTube, go ahead and hit the join button or the link in the description to become a member on YouTube. And if you're listening to this on the podcast feed, go ahead and become a member at theconfessionalspodcast.com/join, and you can hear the whole episode today. All right, today we have Michael and Shannon. How are you?
Good. We're doing great. We're excited to be here.
I'm glad you're here. Congratulations on the newborn. I forgot to say that earlier.
Thank you. She's 7 weeks old.
Yep.
So
Penny Rose.
Yep. She's running the house.
So 7 weeks old. Where is somebody watching her right now, or do you guys gonna have to go get her?
My best friend's downstairs watching.
Oh.
We have three children. So 2 boys and a girl, and she's watching our crazy household. So she's holding down the floor.
You got the kids downstairs, you got the baby. And so this is actually something you're like, yes, a break.
That's right.
I got you. So I think, Shannon, you had contacted the show about your experiences in your life. And you had mentioned that your husband might be willing to share his experience. And I'm glad that he's here, because hearing these stories from the person who experienced it is always the best option, right? And I want to start off with you, Michael, your experience with what was called in the email mountain dwarves, or maybe little people. Either way, I'm fascinated by it. And here, just for the audience background, you guys are, I would consider you local to me, because we share basically the same type of environment as far as the Smokies aren't far and all that stuff. But like the national forests and things like that, in the Smoky Mountains National Forest, there are legends of little people. And when I moved down here and I started hearing people talk about that, I was very interested. And so anytime I get a chance to talk to somebody about this kind of topic, I'm fascinated by it. So if you could let us know what was going on. Like, were you camping, hiking? You know, what was going on that brought this whole thing on for you?
Okay. Yeah. So it was, I believe it's 2005, 2004. I had just graduated college. I went to a school down in Florida called Full Sail. So I went for recording. I came back.
Hold on a second. Hold on.
Yeah.
If I actually would have gone to Full Sail, we probably wouldn't classmates, because I was literally going to go to school to Full Sail for audio production. That's wild.
Yeah,
okay.
I graduated in 2004.
All right.
I started
carry on with your story. I'm sorry. That's just wild.
Yeah. Small world. So I had just gotten back. I was running a small recording studio in Atlanta. I grew up playing in bands, and music was a big part of my life. So when I graduated, at Full Sail, you spend nothing but all your time is in school. You're 40 hours a week. So I had a lot of steam to burn off when I got back, and all my friends were kind of right where I left them, drinking and partying, they had a band house. So, we would hang out and drink beers and, tell lies, and just hang out. And there was a buddy, saxophonist. He was part Indian. But they worked with him at a restaurant. My friends did, and his name was Daniel.
It's Native American.
Yeah, Native American. We called him D-Bone, and he was a storyteller. He was always, he was a big pothead, and every time, anytime we would smoke or whatever, he would be, holding up the pipe and giving offerings. And we just thought it was funny. He had all these amazing stories from traveling abroad, and we didn't know if they were all true or what, but he told them so good, it didn't matter. It was entertaining. So we were along for the ride. But there was the house where my friend grew up. He was still living there with his mom. He was about 1920, and there behind it was national forest, so it's like reserve, so undeveloped land, and we would just get really drunk, and at 1, 2 in the morning, we'd just travel into the woods and just go adventure. It might be like winter and freezing. We'd have a campfire outside, and eventually, you drink enough whiskey, it's not that cold, and you're just stumbling into the woods and having fun. And we did that. there was times they went into the woods without me, and they were always talking about this big tree they found. They called it the wise tree, and it was just something we did. We did this several times. I think we stumbled into the woods. Probably, I probably did it 10 times. With them. We were hanging out a lot, and nothing ever happened. One of the guys, he was. We would get there, we would never make it past a creek, because he'd be so drunk he would either fall in or lose his glasses or something. So we never made it that far, maybe like 400 yards into this dense forest before we had to turn around and go back. So some time passed. They moved out from there, or my friend moved out into another house, and we started partying over there. But there was this one time where just two other guys, it was Daniel and Andre and me, we went back. He didn't live there anymore, but we went back, parked in the cul-de-sac, and we were just listening to music, hanging out in the car, drinking cheap whiskey and listening to like Tom Waits' Blue Valentine and like Andy Warhol's and stuff like that. And then we would, I think once we got drunk enough, we would go stumble into the woods. So this specific trip, we were specifically trying to make it to that specific tree that I had never seen. We were trying to make it. There was like a hollow in the woods and a tree, and we were trying to make it past the creek and just go in there. And Daniel was like, "We're going to see Nunia tonight." He was always talking about Nunia, the small people, and we never expected to see anything. It was just the ride, It was just what he told us about. But so we were smoking pot and drinking whiskey, and we started stumbling into the woods. As soon as we get right into the woods, he stops, and he's real intentional and does like this offering where he's lighting the pot pipe and holding it in the air and like presenting an offering, and we're like, yeah, cool, that's what Daniel does, So he did that several times as we're going into the woods, where we would stop and smoke and then go. And I was a bit of a lightweight, so I would probably barely inhale and just exhale. I think he was more of a seasoned pot smoker. But we make it past the creek, and it felt like we'd made it maybe like 400 or 500 yards into this forest. It's dark. It was pretty heavy moonlight. This is probably like late fall. So maybe like 50 degrees outside. So we were just having a good time. And we were walking in, and we go up this hill, and it's me, Andre, and Daniel. And we get up to the top of this hill, and we're just journeying along, but we come into this clearing, and I look up, and it's like we're surrounded, like we had stumbled upon a group of small people doing some type of ritual. So these are like these ghostly, like bluish-gray, semi-transparent, maybe 2.5 feet tall beings. And it's maybe 20, 25 of them within maybe like a 20-foot circle. And I did not expect to see anything. I never really took it seriously. It was just the thing Daniel did. And I think we all kind of felt that way. It was kind of comical. It was just getting drunk and playing in the woods, but as soon as I see it, I grab Andre, he's to my right, and I grab his arm, and I'm like, "Do you see that?" And he looked at me, and he's like, "Let's get the out of here." Like just immediately, he's like, "Yes, let's get the out of here." And we start hightailing it, just beeline it directly back the way we came. And Daniel's like, no, this is what we came for. What? And we were so scared. That was the last thing we were expected to see. In retrospect, I wish I hadn't done that, but I wasn't prepared to see anything. I wasn't expecting to see anything. I'd never seen anything paranormal. I'm a bit of a skeptic. I'm a level-headed person. Um, but yeah, we were spooked, man. And the whole time he was uh, just trying to get us to stop and go back. But we make it back to the car. He was pretty upset. He was just like, guys, almost like he hadn't seen him in a while either. It was a strange thing, but uh, this is, almost 20 years ago. So a couple months back after we booked this podcast, I got Andre's number from a friend and reached out to him. I hadn't talked to him in about 15 years. And the first person I told about this story was Shannon. Like, I didn't really share it because it sounds crazy. It doesn't sound real. And we were drinking and, I didn't want the stigma with it, but I reached out to Andre and I was like, hey, can we talk sometime? And I want to talk about the new Nia, and your experience. And like, yeah, totally. And we recounted it together. And I was like, a lot of time's gone by. I haven't really talked to anybody about this. Can you just tell me your story? And it was exactly like we remembered, because if time went by, I was hoping maybe he'd be like, we were high, man, like we were drunk. But plain as day, with full confidence, he was like, yeah, that's what we saw, so yeah, it's weird sharing it, but yeah, it was an experience that I haven't seen anything like that since, and I hadn't seen anything like that before.
It's wild, man. That's wild. Shannon, what were you gonna say?
I was gonna ask, what did they look like?
Like little trolls, I found a picture on the internet that I shared with you. And I could share it with you, Tim. I sent that to Andre, and he was like, "That's kind of what it reminded me of." It was just a sketch, but it was like a blue. It was semi-transparent. Small little kind of dwarf-looking beings. I didn't have that long to look at them because I was so scared, so frightened. But yeah. Yeah, I don't.
So you mentioned when you were talking about like the way they looked and everything, I know you mentioned the color blue. What was that in reference to? Their skin or their eyes?
The color of like the outline. So it was semi-transparent. So it was like they weren't completely materialized. So it was, maybe that was the moonlight, or the way I that's just how I remember it. It was like a grayish blue tint to them. So almost like they're in black and white and semi-transparent, but it had a gray and blue tint.
Do you remember how to get back there?
So what?
Do you remember how to get back there?
Yeah. So I pulled it up on Google Maps. In between that neighborhood and they have built another neighborhood behind it, but that reserve area is still there. And I believe I dropped a pin of where I actually think we ended up.
I'm going to need you to share that pin with me sometime.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. And what's cool is you can get to that area without going through anyone's yard. You can go down to like the pool house in that neighborhood and just park and walk into the woods and make your way. And now that we have GPS, you could use your phone to make it exactly to where I think it was. Yeah, it's pretty cool that it's still there. But yeah, that's we should go. Yeah. With Tony, if you want to go there and just check it out.
Yeah. Heck yeah. Like I just did it. I was doing, while you're telling the story, I was trying to look up like specifically North Georgia, little people. and a couple times the moon-eyed people popped up, and it's a short description here, but the one description says the Native American story of the new moon-eyed people describes a race of pale-skinned humanoids with bearded faces and large blue eyes. They were said to be short with small round bodies. Does that sound anything familiar to what you saw? I mean, not exact, I'm assuming.
Yeah.
You said the moon-eyed people? Is that what you said?
Yeah, the moon, like the moon. And you mentioned about how it was a full moon, right?
What?
It was heavy moon. Like that was the only light we had, and we were able to see it.
Interesting. According to ancient stories of the Cherokee people, their blue eyes were so sensitive to the sun that they were forced to be nocturnal, only coming out at night. Very interesting. Very interesting. Yeah, man. And so your friend, this wasn't news to him. This is something that he has seen before.
Yeah, our guide, Daniel. He spoke about it like it was a fact. Like he had seen it and witnessed it. Like I said, he had so many stories that were so detailed and entertaining and fun to listen to. We didn't know if they were real, but we just loved hearing it. It was entertainment, man. We loved the guy. We all felt that way, but what was the only reason I would share it, the story, is because I witnessed it with a close friend, and if I hadn't, I would have left it to, that was the THC, or we made it up or whatever. But experiencing it with Andre and the fact that he was as scared as I was, it kind of gave some validity to the experience.
This was a preview of today's member episode. If you like what you heard and you want to hear more of it, go to theconfessionalspodcast.com. Become a member if you're listening on the podcast feed. And if you're watching on YouTube, go ahead and click the join button or the link in the description, and you can become a member today on YouTube and get this show.